Okay, y'all, we need to talk. McCall's and Nomi just dropped a fresh batch of patterns. And woo child, I have thoughts, okay? Some of these are given fashion forward fabulous, and others, well, might be headed straight for the scrap pile. But go ahead, grab your tea, grab your snacks, grab your popcorn, okay? And settle in because we're going to take a deep dive into all the details, the drama, and the design decisions, I should say. We're going to talk about, is the pattern drop love it or trash it? So let's go ahead and find out. So if that's some content you would like to see, please continue to watch. Hey everyone, I'm Rochelle, and I'm the girl that gives you all the pattern sales, sew along, and behind the scenes of any and everything in between. In today's video, we're gonna go ahead and talk about the McCall patterns that just dropped, and then we'll follow it up with the Nomi patterns in the next video. So without further ado, to keep this video short, sweet, and to the point, let's go ahead and get into it. So McCall patterns for this season, this is the McCall's 2025 summer collection. It runs from McCall's 8575 to McCall's 8600. Now, before we get started, let me tell you, I am not going to be sharing any apron patterns, doggy patterns, costume patterns, none of that. I'm not sharing any of that with you. What I'm going to be sharing today is strictly adult apparel fabrics, okay? I'm not sharing kids patterns. Once again, I'm not sharing any teddy bear patterns or anything like that. We're going to keep it strictly to the adult pattern. Now, what I seen was 19 patterns that I'm going to be sharing with you in this video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get over to the first pattern, being McCall's. All of these are McCall's, so we're just going to say the number from here on out. 8575. So McCall's 8575 is a missus dress with sleeve and length variations. It is an empire waist dress pattern. It has ties at the neckline, tiered skirt with gathers, and length variation. Now, view A have a short puff sleeves and elasticated cuffs, whereas view C dress has these spaghetti straps. So both of them have an invisible back zipper and have 3 tiers for all views, I should say, A, B, and C. Now, this is an average to sew pattern. Now, all the patterns also come in paper pattern or PDF, so just choose according to what you want, paper pattern or PDF pattern. So in terms of sizing, it comes in 2 pattern envelopes, 8 to 16 on the first one and 18 to 26 on that second pattern envelope. In terms of notions and fabric, let's start with notions. So in terms of notions for all views, you're going to need a 16-inch invisible zipper and a 1/4 of yard of a 1/4 inch wide ribbon. If you are doing view A or B, you're going to need some elastic that's for the sleeves. And then you're also going to need a pack of single fold bias tape as well. Okay, so that is your notions. Now, for this pattern, it doesn't look like you need any interfacing, but you will need some lining, about 5/8 of yard of lining in order to line this dress. So once again, there is some lining that's going to be needed for this dress. All right. So once again, the pattern number is 8575. Let's go ahead and get into the next pattern. Before we get into the next pattern, first, let's go back to 8575 and talk about the fabrics. So in terms of fabric for 8575, you can use cotton blends, gingham, poplin, sateen, and then you're also going to need some lining fabric as well. So once again, this pattern is 8575. Moving over to the next pattern, which is 8576. And 8576 is another missus dress with sleeve and length variation. It is a drop waist dress pattern. It has 4 buttons with sleeve and length variations. This dress also has a collar band, a box pleat, and invisible side zipper closure as well. Now, you also have 3 different views. So on view A, you have the long sleeve with the cuffs. View B is more so like a short sleeve. And then view C, the skirt is much longer. That's where you get the sleeve and length variations, okay? It is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, there's two pattern envelopes. The first one is 6 to 14, and the other one is a 16 to 24. Now this pattern has a QR code, and when we see a QR code, that means that there will be a sew along attached to the pattern for you to sew it up or sew along. All right, let's talk about notions and fabric. In terms of notions first, for all views, you're gonna need a 12-inch invisible zipper. If you are doing view A, you're going to also need 12 5/8-inch buttons. If you are doing view B or view C, you're going to need a pack of 1/2-inch single fold bias tape, as well as 8 5/8-inch buttons. So those are all the notions you're gonna need. Let's talk fabrics. So in terms of fabric, you can use cotton blends, gingham, linen, or even shirting. Now don't forget that you will need some interfacing as well for this pattern. Once again, the pattern number is 8576. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern, which is 8577. So 8577, it is another Mrs. Dress and sleeve and length variation as well. This pattern is a fitted dress sewing pattern. It has front and back stitch details. View A dress has the drop shoulders, short cap sleeves, and a V-neck. View B and View C have the thin straps and a sweetheart neckline. Now, View C also has the optional decorative shank buttons added onto the straps as well. Now, this is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, you have two pattern envelopes. The first one is 8 to 16, and the second pattern envelope is 18 to 26. Let's talk fabrics and notions. First, let's talk fabric. So in terms of fabric, you can use cotton blends, denim, linen, or even twill. In terms of notions, for view A, you're going to need a 22-inch invisible zipper and a pack of a 1/2-inch single fold bias tape. Now, if you are doing view B or view C, you also going to need just a 14-inch invisible zipper. You can cut it to fit, okay? So those are the things that you're gonna need. You do not need any interfacing or lining for this pattern, all right? Now, once again, this pattern number is 8577. Let's go ahead and move over to the next one, 8578. So 8578 is Brandy Jones pattern with McCall's. So it is a Mrs. Dress pattern. So this is more so a ballerina mini dress pattern that has an halter necktie at the neck. It also features a gathered skirt and an invisible zipper closure and narrow hem. It is an average to sew pattern for this pattern. In terms of sizing for this pattern, it's two pattern envelopes, 4 to 12, and then 14 to 22. Let's go ahead and talk about fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you can use cotton blends, crepe, sateen, or even satin. You also going to need some lining fabric and some interfacing, okay? Now, in terms of notions, the only notions that you're going to need is just a 14-inch invisible zipper for this pattern, all right? Now, once again, it's Brandy Jones pattern. That pattern number is 8578. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern, which is 8579. So 8579 is a Mrs. Top in 2 lengths. This is a vest style halter top pattern in 2 lengths. It has gathered cross neck and front button opening. Now, view A, I like the fact that view A just kind of like has that crisscross, just normal vest style halter top. But view B and view C, they both have front flaps, whereas view C has a contrast. So you could contrast view C. It is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, there's two pattern envelopes, 8 to 16 on the first one and 18 to 26 on the second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you can use cotton blends, crepe, lightweight suit and fabric, or even linen. You will also need some lightweight fusible interfacing. So in terms of notions for all views, you're going to need 5 buttons, 5/8" buttons, I should say, 3 3/8" shanks, and then you're also going to need some elastic as well. And that's for the back of the vest, okay? So it's a cutout in the back. You're going to need some elastic for that as well. Once again, this pattern number is 8579. Now, I forgot to tell you which patterns I'm going to pick up. So far, none. Okay, so I'm not picking up 8575. I'm not picking up 8576. I'm not picking up 8577. I'm not picking up 8578 or even 8579. But at any rate, let's go ahead and get over to the next pattern. The next pattern is 8580, which is a pattern that I'm going to be picking up because it reminds me of another pattern, which we will get there, of course. But 8580 is a missus shirt in 2 lengths. Let's go ahead and get into it. So it is a missus shirt in 2 lengths. It's a fitted collared shirt, which y'all know I love fitted collar shirts, or even a collared shirt or a button-down shirt, right? It has hem variations. It also features a front button opening, long barrel sleeves, princess seams, and back darts. Now, view C has a side slit, which I'm not interested in that, to be honest with you. But this is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes, 6 to 14 on the first one, and then, 6 to 14 on the first pattern envelope, and 16 to 24 on the second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you could pick up, or you could do it in cotton blends, linen, poplin, or even shirting. You're also going to need some lightweight fusible interfacing. And then in terms of notions for view A or B, you're going to need 9 half-inch buttons. And then if you're doing view C, you're going to need 12 half-inch buttons. Now, this pattern reminds me of a pattern that I did a sew along for, I want to say back in 2023 probably. And I believe I did this sew along as part of #Make9 2023. That pattern number is Simplicity 9705. It reminds me of how I did the pleats at the sleeve area. It also features, now this one has a collar, but that one has like a collar that comes around the back and you add buttons to the back. So this one reminds me, I didn't say it's the exact same pattern. I said it's similar, okay? So 8580 is very similar to 9705. I'm just giving you guys kind of like some comparison because you guys know that's what your girl do. But I'm giving you guys some comparison just in case you want to go to that one. Now, the difference between the two is this one is more so a button-down shirt with the sleeves looking entirely pretty much the same, right? Whereas 9705 does not feature like a collar or even a button down. It's more so just a basic top with a zipper in the back. Go to that sew along so you're able to see it. I'll also link to that sew along in the description box below if you are interested. All right, let's go ahead and get over to the next pattern. Next pattern is 8581. This is a missus and woman's dress in 2 lengths. Now hold up. I just said a missus and woman's dress in 2 lengths. Now, the previous patterns that I just mentioned did not have women's sizes, which is another thing. How many patterns are in this collection, if you have seen this collection already, that are more so on the plus side? I don't know because I did not check that out, but I am paying attention and I'll let you know at the end of this video. Let's go ahead and get into 8581. Now, this pattern is a empire waist dress pattern. It has close fitting through the bust and has sweetheart neckline. It also features a double bow front, lined bodice, and narrow straps, a full skirt. It has side front pockets, no side seams whatsoever, but also features an invisible back zipper, and it also features an unlined skirt. Now, this is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 3 pattern envelopes. The first one is 10 to 18. The second one is 20 to 28W, and then 30 to 38W on that last pattern envelope. Let's talk fabric and notions. So in terms of fabric first, you could use any type of fabric. Satin, taffeta are the two that I'm going to recommend. You're going to also need some lining and interfacing, some medium weight interfacing there. In terms of notion, for all views, you're just going to need a 14-inch invisible zipper. All right. So those are the fabrics and notions that you're going to need in order to do this pattern. This pattern number is 8581. And unfortunately, I'm not picking this pattern up. However, we could definitely get to the next pattern, all right? That is one for the women's pattern, all right? Let's go ahead and get into the next pattern, being 8582, which is a Mrs. Dress pattern in 2 lengths. Let's talk about it. So this pattern is a Mrs. Dress in 2 lengths. It is line-fitted, bias-cut dress pattern that has spaghetti straps, a low back, a bow detail, and invisible side seam zipper. Now, if you are doing view C or view B, it has a high-low hem, and view B also features a contrast. You could contrast view B if you are wanting to do that view. This is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, there's 2 pattern envelopes, 8 to 16 and 18 to 26 on the second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabrics, you can use your muse, you can use crepe, or even satin. You will need some lining fabric for this one. But in terms of notion, for all views, you only need an 18-inch invisible zipper that you can cut to fit as well. Now, I'm not going to be picking this pattern up, which is 8582, but if your heart desire, go ahead and pick it up, all right? So this pattern doesn't remind me of a pattern right off the rip, but it's cute. It's just not one that I'm going to be picking up, all right? I'll pass. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern, being 8583. So 8583 is a Mrs. skirt in 2 lengths. This skirt is lined flared skirt pattern. It sits at the natural waist. It has like a bubble gathered hem. Different length variations for this bubble skirt. It also features an invisible side zipper closure. And then view C has a bias drape detail. It is an average to sew pattern. This pattern will also come with a sew along. That's why there is a QR code there. But in terms of sizing, there's 2 pattern envelopes, 6 to 14 and then 16 to 24, which means this pattern is not size inclusive past a 24. So it doesn't have women's sizes for this pattern. So far, we're 1 pattern down for the women's sizes, okay? Sorry about that. However, let's talk about fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, it's chambray, linen blend, poplin, and taffeta. You're also going to need some lightweight fusible interfacing. In terms of notion, the only notion you're going to need for all views, whether you're doing A, B, and C, A, B, or C, you're going to need 1 7-inch invisible zipper for this pattern. Once again, this pattern is 8583. Now, there was a bubble skirt pattern for McCall's, I want to say 2 seasons ago. I want to say it was last summer. I did not do that pattern. Bubble skirts is in. Mimi did a bubble skirt for Sew It Academy. So I think I'm good on the bubble skirt. If I haven't done one, I don't want like 5 or 6 different patterns for a bubble skirt, okay? Because I want to test it and see if I actually like it before buying a lot of bubble skirt patterns. That just makes sense to me. So I think I'm going to skip on this one. I think I'm good on this one. But once again, I think it's cute. It's 8583. Let's go ahead and get over to the next pattern. The next pattern is 8584. Okay. Of course, this pattern reminds me of another pattern, which we'll get there. But this pattern is a Mrs. skirt in 2 lengths and a belt. Let's talk about it. So 8584 is a pleated skirt sewing pattern. It sits below your waist. It has length variation and invisible back zipper. Now, view A is just your regular standard pleated skirt. View B and view C are belted and have cargo pockets with flap and a gusset, okay? It is an average to sew pattern. Once again, for this one, in terms of sizing, it's not size inclusive to the women's sizes. Sorry about that. But I need to stop saying sorry because it's not me, okay? I'm just telling you what it is. All right, at this point. But the sizing for this pattern is 8 to 16 on the first pattern envelope and 16 to 24 on the second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric for this pattern, you can use flannel, denim, twill, wool blend, just to name a few. You're going to need some medium weight fusible interfacing. And then also for the notions, for all three views, you're going to need a 7-inch invisible zipper. If you are doing view B or view C, which is a longer view, you're also, or with the belt, you're also going to need a 3-inch prong buckle to cover and 5 grommets. All right. So make sure you look at the back of the pattern envelope if you are planning to do this pattern. Now, I did mention that this pattern reminds me of another pattern, and that pattern is with McCall's too. Okay. I want to say last summer, McCall's. Okay. Maybe it was last spring or last summer. It doesn't matter, but it reminds me of another pattern. And that pattern is McCall's 8479. Now, for that one, it's more so a Mrs. Wrap skirt instead of a pleated skirt, but it pretty much have the same details or elements that the other one has, okay? So, at any rate, that pattern that we just reviewed is 8584. I'm not picking it up, all right? But let's go ahead and get over to the next pattern. Next pattern is 8585. Now, this is a Mrs. and woman's top, short, and skirt with petite lines, okay? Let's get into this pattern. I'm excited for this pattern. By the way, I will be picking this pattern up. Finally, one pattern that I will be picking up. Okay, let's get into it. So it is a fitted top sewing pattern that has front patch pockets and back belt with vest buckle, okay? It's fitted shorts, which I love, and skirt have invisible zipper closure, invisible back zipper closure, I should say, all right? Now, one thing that I like about this pattern is I like the vest and I like the shorts. I'm not sure if I would do the skirt, to be 100% honest, but this is an average to sew pattern. Let's talk sizing. So in terms of sizing for this one, it's 3 pattern envelopes. First one is 10 to 18. Second one is 20 to 28W. And the last pattern envelope is 30 to 38W. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric for this pattern, you can use chambray, chino, lightweight denim, just to name a few there. You're also going to need some lightweight fusible interfacing. As far as notions go, for view A, you're going to need 5 3/4 inch buttons, 1 3/4 inch vest buckle as well. For view B, the short, and view C, the skirt, you're going to need a 7-inch invisible zipper for that as well. I like this one. I will be adding this one to my collection of patterns, okay? Because that's what we do. But once again, this pattern is 8585, all right? Let's move over to the next pattern being 8586. Now, 8586, I will be picking up. This is a top and skirt pattern in 2 lengths. Now, I like this whole ensemble. I would definitely make sure that I lengthen the top probably an inch or 2, not to have it too short. And in terms of the skirt, I would be making view C for the skirt instead of view B. All right, let's go ahead and get into the pattern. So this pattern is a fitted unlined top sewing pattern. It has princess seams and biased neck and armhole facing, okay? Now, it also features a fitted A-line skirt that sits about 1 inch below the waist. It has side front, and side back seams and length variations, okay? This pattern is an average sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it is not size inclusive. This pattern is 2 pattern envelopes, 8 to 16 on the first one and 18 to 26 on the second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, denim, linen, sateen, twill, just to name a few. You're also going to need some lightweight fusible interfacing, and this pattern, just the skirt, is lined. That makes no sense because you would think that the vest is lined. Unfortunately, It doesn't say it, on the back of the pattern envelope that view A is lined. However, the skirt is lined. Is that a typo? I don't know, but I think it's awkward to have the skirt line, but not the top line. Line at your own risk, okay? But let's go ahead and talk about the notions that you're going to need in order to construct this pattern. So for 85, 86, you're going to need, for all views, A, B, or C, you're going to need a 7/8 inch button. You're going to need 7 of those for view A. If you're doing view B or view C, you're going to need 8 of those buttons, all right? Once again, it's 7/8 inch buttons. However, it's difficult to find 7/8 inch buttons here in my local Joann's. From now on, I'll be buying buttons online. Let's just face it. But I would get 1-inch buttons because I know 7/8 is hard to find. All right. But once again, that pattern number is 85, 86. Moving over to the next pattern, which is a pajama pattern. I will be picking up 85, 86. Moving over to this pajama style pattern, which is 85, 87. It features a Mrs. Top, shorts, and pants pattern. Now, for 85, 87, it is a stylish lounge set pattern, which includes the top, the shorts, and the pants. The top has spaghetti strap, also a ruffle. It also features high-low hem and a bias tape finish at the armhole. All right. Now, let's talk about the pants. The tiered pants, balloon pants, I should say. The pants are tiered, and they are like a balloon pants, which have ribbon ties, which I thought was very funny. Now, this is an easy to sew pattern, which if you are in the market of definitely having some pajama pants, I would say this would be a great lounge or even pajama pair of pant pattern. I can't talk today. I'm sorry. I am picking this pattern up, 85, 87. So far, 3 patterns down that I will be picking up. Let's talk sizing. So in terms of sizing for this pattern, it's extra small to extra, extra large. Okay. Let's get into the fabrics and notion for this one. So in terms of fabric, first, you can use dotted Swiss. You can use Georgette, Challis, just to name a few. In terms of notion, let's talk about it. So view A, the top, you're going to need a pack of single fold bias tape. If you are doing view B or view C, which is the shorts and the pair of pants, you will need some elastic for that. And then if you are doing view C, in addition with view C, you're going to need some elastic, but also some ribbon as well. So make sure you pay attention to the back of the pattern envelope in order to see exactly what you will need for your patterns, okay? Once again, this pattern number is 85, 87. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern, which is 85, 88. 85, 88 is a unisex pant pattern in 2 lengths. It features a loose-fitting pant pattern in floor or ankle length. It has a waistband with elastic at the back and button closure, a fly front zipper, and then front pleats and side seam pockets. Now, this is an average to sew pattern. I'm also picking this pattern up, by the way. Let's go ahead and talk about sizing. So it's 1 pattern envelope, extra small to extra, extra large on the pants. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you can use broadcloth, chambray, cottons, just to name a few there. In terms of notions, for view A and view B, you're going to need some elastic as well as 1 7-inch all-purpose zipper because it's a fly front. Do not pick up a invisible zipper thinking it's going to work out for you with these pants. You will also need a invisible or exposed all-purpose zipper, okay? Once again, this pattern number is 85, 88. Let's go ahead and move over. So that pattern right there, I will be picking up 85, 88. Let's get into the next pattern, which is 85, 89, which is a pattern that your girl will not be picking up, all right? So this is a Mrs. Top with sleeve variation. It's a classic polo style top that have a V style neckline, collar, front chest pocket, and comes in short or long sleeve. Now, View B top has contrast at the collar and the pocket as well. Let's go ahead and talk about skill level. So in terms of skill level for this pattern, it is an average to sew pattern. Let's talk sizing. So in terms of sizing, it's one pattern envelope and that's small to 3XL. Okay. Size inclusive for this one for sure. Let's talk fabrics and notions. Okay. So I haven't said this in a very long time. And what I'm getting ready to say is this is a no notion pattern. Let me say that one more time. No notion pattern. Write it down. Get into these no notion patterns. Okay? No notion patterns is what I'm going to tell you. But let's talk about the fabrics first. So in terms of fabric, you're going to need some form of knit, whether it's ripstop, whether it's ITY, cotton knit, jersey knit, just to name a few of the fabrics that you're going to need in order to construct this top. All right? The shirt, whatever you want to call it. Top, shirt, whatever, with sleeve variation. But once again, it's $85.89. I'm going to definitely pass on this top. All right? Let's get over to the next pattern. So the next pattern is $85.90. I'm definitely going to be passing on this pattern as well. It's a Mrs. Top, shorts, and pants pattern. Now this pattern is, of course, a men's fashion pattern. It features a front button opening, raglan short sleeves, collar, and hemband for the shirt. I like the fact that this shirt is color block as well. Now, this one also features pull-on shorts and pull-on pants that have the front ties, elastic waistband, side seam pockets, and then it also features a contrast at the side panels as well as the hemband. All right. This is an average to sew pattern. Let's talk sizing. So in terms of sizing, it's one pattern envelope, small to extra, extra large. In terms of fabrics and notions, let's get into the fabrics first. Is all views A, B, and C, you're going to need some form of knit. And that knit needs to be like a ponte, a double knit, a sweatshirt fleece, terry, just to name a few. In terms of notion, if you are doing view A, the top, you're going to need 5/8 inch buttons. If you're doing view B or C, the pants or the shorts, you're going to need elastic and twill tape. Now, twill tape is optional, but you're definitely going to need elastic to sift around the waistband as well as the pants. All right. Now, once again, $85.93. Let's move over to the next pattern, $85.94. So we could go ahead and wrap these up within the next two patterns. All right. So $85.94, I'm going to definitely leave on the shelf. It is a 1970s Mrs. Dress pattern by Laura Ashley. All right. So this pattern is basically a high-waisted back zipper dress. It has neck ruffles with ribbon trim and a tie belt included in front dart. Okay. This also features short sleeves gathered into the band, which is a band cuff. It also has view A has a trimming for ruffles sewn to the skirt, and then view B and view C have ruffles, which are sewn to the lower skirt. Okay. Two different views for sure. Now, of course, y'all know this one came from the vault. It is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's two pattern envelopes, 6 to 14 on the first one, and then 16 to 24 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk notions and fabric. So in terms of notions first, for all three views, you're going to need a 14-inch zipper and a hook and eye closure. Okay. Now, in terms of fabric, you can use cotton blend, eyelet, even crepe, just to name a few of the fabrics that you can use in order to create this dress. Once again, the pattern number is $85.94. Let's go ahead and get into the next pattern, $95.95, which is another Laura Ashley pattern. Now, this one is a Mrs. Gown slip and stash pattern. It is from 1980s, to be honest with you. It features a back zipper gown that has the bodice with shape stand-up collar, full or even a gathered skirt and long elbow length sleeves, which are gathered into the sleeve cap and also features a button closure at the very end. So now this gown has tucks on the bodice, front, skirt, sleeves, and even the hem, and lace trim and armhole ruffles. Okay. Now, this is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, this comes in one. I said it. One. Okay. One pattern size. And the only pattern size you can get with this pattern is a size 6 to 16, which means, ladies, it is not size inclusive. Look, it's going to have you hanging on for dear life if you try to get this pattern and you know you a size 20 or even a 22 or even a 24. Basically, if you are not an 18 or you're 4, you're going to have to do some adjustments, okay? Take it from me because I know I have done a pattern like this similar and had to do some sizing up, all right? Now, I'm not going to get into kind of like what you would be doing with this one, but all you need to know is in terms of sizing for this one pattern envelope, 6 to 16. And yeah, this one is really nice, but however, I think I'm going to pass on this one. All right. Once again, it's $85.95. Moving over to the last pattern, which is $85.96. Now, this one is a 1970s Mrs. Dress pattern or a jumper and a jumpsuit. All right, so you have options with this. Let's go ahead and get into the description of this pattern, which is $85.96. So $85.96 is a dress or jumper and jumpsuits pattern. It has shoulder straps, buttons under the band in the back. It also features upper front opening and ties with elastic in the waistline casing. All right. Now, they claim that it's easy to sew. You guys know how I am. Easy to sew for one is not easy to sew for all, okay? Let's talk sizing. So in terms of the first pattern envelope is 4 to 12, and the second one is 14 to 22. Let's talk fabrics and notion. So in terms of fabric, you can use cotton blends, cotton, broadcloth, denim, just to name a few there. If you are doing view D, you can also use a knit terry. In terms of notions, you're going to need 2 half-inch buttons, some elastic, and a pack of single fold bias tape if you are doing this pattern, which is $85.96. Woo, child, what a ride. This pattern drop definitely stir the pot, all right? I said stir the pot. It stirred the pot a little bit. Let me know in the comment section below which ones are you adding to your stash and which one are you absolutely passing on. All right. Well, that's the end of this video. I want to thank you so much for watching this video. If this video was educational, inspiring, and fun, you guys know what to do. Give your girls a thumbs up on this video. Comment in the comment section below and let me know which ones are you picking up now, right? And which one is going to hit the damn trash can, okay? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, share this video with a friend, and y'all know what I'm going to say. Do what's free, and that's subscribe if you have not done so already. Well, that's it for this video. Until next time, keep sewing.